Welcome into the Creative Crypto Podcast, where we provide immersive, essential, and evergreen strategies for the novice cryptocurrency investor. How you doing? I'm one half of your host, Boi Crypto. I have here with me, as always, Crypto Ewok, my partner in crime here in crypto. And yeah, we are going to have a fun night tonight. The markets are blowing off right now. We had a 25 basis point increase from the Fed today at the FOMC, which is pretty much what most people were expecting. And things are getting interesting in this market. We have a lot to talk about. Ewok and I have been on kind of opposite sides of the aisle about where we think the market's heading. We'll get into that and a lot more. But Ewok, how are you doing this evening? What do you think about the markets? BTC just crossing 24K not long ago. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, doing good. Lovely to see a bunch of green candles and some excitement. But yes, still on opposite sides of the fence.
Still on opposite sides of the fence, so I know you're going to throw some cold water on all of this today. But yeah,
Yeah,
either way, you are right. I mean, like for anybody that is still expecting maybe other or further downside of some sort, yeah, you're going to welcome green candles of this type any way you can. You know, we haven't
sure.
seen them much over the last year. So before we get into it, I'll let you know again that I am Broke Boy Crypto. You can find me on YouTube and on Twitter at Broke BOI Crypto. I have a YouTube channel that's dedicated to trying to attain wealth through investing in crypto with a minimalist mindset in kind of your everyday life and stuff. Ewok, where can everybody find you?
I am Crypto Ewok on Twitter and Crypto Ewok 5555 on YouTube.
Yes, sir. And big
Yep.
time DeFi guy, big time Hexakin, correct? I
Big
think.
time DeFi, big time Hexakin, Richard Hart Maximalist. Can't wait
Yep.
for the PulseChain, Pulse X, and all of the goodies that are about to come here. Hopefully soon.
Hopefully soon. We will definitely get deep into the weeds on that tonight because we have a lot to talk about there. But looking at the market where we always start, obviously BTC right at about literally like 24K even right now, which is a number that's been kind of a sticking point. And, you know, as far as support and resistance in this market throughout the year, ETH is just about to touch 1700. It probably did at some point or wicked to it already, just below that right now. We'll take a look at Hex since we obviously are going to talk about it a lot. Man, up over 3 cents now, moving strongly, 20% up on the day, 3.2 cents. I saw Optimism's up like 25%. It's at 276 all-time highs, I think, for Optimism. But just kind of, you know, floating through here. The market is going balls out right now. We have huge pumps galore. Again, I think not only partially, first off, I felt like this was coming just because of timing and the bear market, to me, or in my opinion, kind of coming to an end just time wise. But also, you know, we can also assign different narratives to it. We had a big Fed meeting today that a lot of people were anticipating, the first one of 2023. Jerome Powell announced a 25-point rate hike for interest rates, which is the lowest that we have had yet since we've been having these meetings and increasing rates. And, you know, we don't have another one until mid-March. So he also sounded, I don't know if you want to say, you know, I don't know who came up with hawkish and dovish. I'm not a huge fan of either word, but I guess you would say he was a bit dovish today and how he sounded on the whole when he spoke. So we'll get into that too. But yeah, Ewok, overall, I mean, I know we're of differing opinions kind of in terms of where we think that the market may still be headed. Just to recap for anybody who's kind of new to us, I mean, we both were kind of looking for new lows in November, and we definitely called that one right. So pat on the back there. And then we were both kind of thinking that we would get new lows by January. None of that happened. Quite the opposite happened. Not that we got any kind of a giga pump, but it's been better. And I've kind of reversed course. I feel like time-wise, in the Bitcoin 4-year cycles, I feel like it seems like they are just panning out. And I'm really feeling like the November low of about 15.3K for Bitcoin during the SBF garbage was probably our low. You know, so Ewok, I know you feel differently about that, but tell me a little bit about what you think about what we're seeing in the market today and the pumps and everything and what your outlook is here as we head into the spring for Bitcoin. What do you think about this price action?
I think the meeting today went well as expected. And I had said, you know, if they do 25, that I thought things would do what they're doing today. I said if it went 50, it could be really bad, and if it went 0, if they didn't do anything, then we would see a huge pump. And it played out just like I kind of thought it would. I think though, so what I'm seeing is I'm seeing a lot of longs open up, and that is always dangerous at this point, only because I don't think we have enough confirmations and we haven't gotten through enough support levels yet to say it's officially over without a pretty big pullback. So one of the first mistakes that you do see are like newbies that come in and say, "Whoa, I've been listening to this guy. He wants me to open a Bybit account and place, a, place a bet on some leverage here and go long." Well, it's usually one of your first mistakes, and hopefully the last time you do that. Maybe not though, because people double down and try it again and again and again. Uh,
Right.
that's why they give those ref links out. They make money when you lose. So yeah, I'm just seeing a lot of that, a lot of sentiment that is way more bullish than I think we should be at this point. Like I said, at least until we get through some of these support levels. At that point, then like I said, I'll change my mind. But I just don't think we've gotten there yet. Overall, though, like I said a few minutes ago, the sentiment is nice to see. You see a lot of positivity and a lot of moon boys coming out of the woodwork. So
That's something we're going to get to too, because I don't know if our feeds are just different or, and I guess it's whatever you decide to curate kind of, and I don't mean just like you specifically, Ewok, but just anybody like with your social media accounts, Twitter, YouTube, what you're following. If you're following Altcoin Daily and stuff like that, chances are you're going to see a lot more Moon Boy stuff. If you're following, some kind of a cold-blooded day trader, you're not going to see that as much. So we are going to get to that because I really love delving into the psychology of markets in general, especially this one because of the volatility. And there's so many, the demographic of people in crypto is just freaking crazy compared to anything else. So we'll definitely get into that. But leading off with the FOMC thing. So yeah, the 25-point hike. I don't even know how this is possible, but basically we saw that 99% of the market was expecting that. I don't really even know how you really arrive at those numbers, but that's what we saw. Which could have led people to think that, okay, so if we get a 25-point rate hike, do we even pump that hard because everybody is expecting it? Well, yeah, is the answer. We did very hard, and we still are. We still are very hard. And Jerome Powell,
speak for yourself.
Jerome Powell, kind of waffled a little bit. I mean, the guy's going to waffle. Like when you hear him speak after something like this, he's, reporters are going to try to get him to commit to something. He's not going to. He's going to go another direction, whatever. But overall, if I'm just taking the temperature of how he sounded in tone, the way, his eyebrows moved and every single detail on his face, he sounded pretty positive. He did mention that he thought that we are definitely seeing disinflationary things occur, citing different things that on average in the U.S. are, dropping in price on the shelves at stores and stuff like that. We are seeing it, I believe. I still think inflation is atrocious and worse than the numbers that we have seen, but the effects,
except for eggs.
Yeah, eggs not so much right now. Definitely not. We got the bird flu going on, but we did. I do think he's right. I think we are starting to see that, even if we're not exactly where we want to be. What they actually released in the document that is coupled with the 25-point rate hike was that obviously they're meeting again in March, and they did have language in there basically that said. Verbatim, well, I don't know what is verbatim, but it said that there could be further increases coming. So, as I said to you in the green room, Ewok, like if you're them, you want to leave the door open. You don't want to box yourself in by saying like, "That's it, we're pivoting after this. This is going to be it," and you don't want to say, we definitely are doing another hike, and here's what it's going to be next time. You want to leave that door open because who knows what changes in the next 6 weeks. But with another meeting scheduled for mid-March, if you're them, you want to leave the door open. So I have no idea what they're going to do then, but I do know that not just my takeaway, I think, from everything today, but obviously most of the markets was that they could be pivoting soon. And he sounded pretty positive. So yeah, what's your takeaway? I know you didn't necessarily hear Powell, but what's your takeaway from my interpretation of that anyway?
Well, I agree. I think you definitely want to leave the door open. You want to see how it plays out. As we know, everything is very much delayed from their actions till things actually play out. So yeah, you don't want to box yourself into into a corner and be stuck with one thing. Nobody wants to hear you say one thing and then do another. You
Right.
definitely don't get any trust, that way. Not that we really trust these guys as much as they've screwed up over the past how many years, but um, yeah, it is bullish, and we can finally see light at the end of the tunnel. I think that's the takeaway that I'm seeing from this. A couple more months of this, and hopefully things get turned around.
And I think that is a big deal, like, just seeing any kind of light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, 2022 was such a terrible year for many, many people. I mean, we're sitting here with the privilege of talking about investing in cryptocurrency, but I mean, like, for many other reasons, the last couple of years have been real crappy for people, and 2022 especially, really bad. I mean, people lost a lot of money in every walk of life, and
Yeah,
struggling with inflation and things like that. So yeah, I think people are genuinely just really excited to see something like this. If there is anybody out there who's really, full on moon boy status and believing that like new Bitcoin all time high is even possible this year, I think you're probably very sorely mistaken. But to declare that we are in the start of the next bull market, if what your definition of a bull market is after we start moving up from the lows of the bear market, I don't think that's that far off to say. I mean, we're
right.
not currently seeing, totally bullish, price action like the top of a bull market. I'm not indicating that at all. But the sentiment thing is interesting, Ewok, because you were just saying that you felt like you have seen um some of that moon boy type action and yeah, I've seen some positivity out there, especially today. I mean, today is totally different than the last month or so. I mean, like today, I
Sure.
think is going to maybe flip flop some people, get some people like Profit Blue and Capo on Twitter to, I don't know if they'll ever reverse course or admit,
Mhm.
wrong. Not that it is over and done with yet. But you and I, so we both watch some traders on YouTube. We both talk about Crypto Kirby. Funny guy. We both definitely enjoy his stuff. Highly respect him as a trader. Neither of us obviously are day traders or anything like that. But we really like to watch what he talks about. He generally calls it down the middle, is interested in trading Bitcoin. And he has been very, I don't want to call him bearish. He looks at the charts, and
Yep.
he pays attention to macro, and he's a smart guy. And I've been pretty much in lockstep thinking all of his thinking has made sense throughout this bear market for the last few months. But something, and I don't know if this is just something that he says to grab people's attention, but he keeps talking about like all the moon boys, and all the moon boys are calling for a brand new bull run, and the moon boys, and you're going to get stuck and everything like this. And I am just not seeing that. Like I don't, again, I don't know if he's just saying it, but I'm not seeing on a lot of these big channels like the altcoin dailies and crypto banter and stuff like that. People are still they're all just interviewing Gareth Soloway and he's predicting 12K still. You know what I mean? Like that's really all I'm seeing is just like, be careful, there will be blood. Like that's all I'm seeing. I mean, it's probably clickbait also, but I'm not seeing Bitcoin to 100K. I'm not seeing that anywhere.
Mm-mm.
And I want to be pointed in the direction of who's doing it, but yeah, I guess you're seeing some of it, Ewok. So what are you seeing, or where are you seeing this stuff? Because I'm not. I'm still seeing a bearish bias, really, for the most
I
part.
mostly on Twitter. I'm seeing a lot of people saying that they're placing longs because they think it's over. And again, one of the things that Richard says, and it's so true, is uh, in order to appreciate some of the massive gains that you get in crypto, volatility is the price that you pay. And unfortunately, people jump the gun in a lot of these situations, which can cause a lot of cascading events. If there is a pullback and people start to get liquidated, and there's a lot of money, having to meet those settlements on their longs, it can go down pretty quick. And especially if some bigger players get into that mix where they're trying to get out as well, on top of it, we could see another, definitely another downside. And you're right, Kirby has been very middle of the road, but he agrees that, it's he doesn't think it's here yet either. I think is what his sentiment is that he's not sold on the bull market being here.
Mhm.
I think you need, what is it, 2 monthly green candles to kind of confirm that trend anyway.
Mhm.
And we don't have it yet anyway. It's been this might be the first, and I don't think January is even green yet either. So I don't know that we've had one overall. I'll take a look here and see, but
Yeah, I believe January ended green last night. Yeah, I think it's in the books now. So, we had a lot of pump at the end of January. So, yeah, it might be a challenge here in February to see that. But I do think you're right that generally back-to-back monthly green candles would indicate the trend reversal. And, I'm not hating on Crypto Kirby either. I mean, I totally think he would reverse course would he see the evidence.
right.
I'm just flat out not really seeing a lot of Moon Boy action. As a matter of fact, I think if we would have lost these levels today and dipped to even 20K or 19K, people would have been losing their minds. I mean, I
Oh,
think
of course.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody. I think everybody would have been like, "Oh yeah, new lows are coming. This is it. This is the final pullback." I mean, so that's my thing. And I'm not saying either, I'm not even projecting who's going to be right. I personally, from what I'm observing across YouTube, Twitter, everything I'm looking at, there seems to be more bearishness. I see it in polling. I
Still,
see it in,
are you still seeing more?
well, literally today is a little bit
Okay.
different.
Okay.
I haven't really, been all over the place today. I wanted to let today kind of settle in also, but leading up to today, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It has been primarily bearish, narrowing, I think maybe more to like a 60-40 range. But yeah,
Okay.
I've still been seeing people do that. And I think the reason is because we've been in this pattern for so long and people just
Yeah.
cannot remember. It's just like people, and we've talked about this too. How many participants in this market have only been in it since the fall of 2021? I mean,
Right.
many, many, many
A
have.
lot.
So,
Most. Yeah.
right. So,
Yeah.
of
There aren't many that
course,
are back for this new cycle. And I think a good bull market will almost make you forget what the bear market was really like.
same thing. Right.
It's that short-term memory of, oh my God, now it's going up and it's going to go up forever. And you kind of forget that, hey, we're in a cycle. There will be a
Right.
top. And you have all those signs and you just forget about them. I did.
Yeah.
I got overly ecstatic on the last bull run because of the numbers on my portfolio were just growing incredibly, not realizing, hey, it's going to come to an end here, and sure enough, it's down to where it was before you blink and it's over and it's done, and then it
Right. Right.
drags on forever. So that's why I once it starts to happen, you do remember the last bear market, or I do anyway, and how long and drawn out it really did feel. So
Hmm.
that's
Right.
why I still remain that bear who's not quite out of the woods yet.
Yeah, and I totally get it. And I think even with you feeling that way, it's not like you're saying that we've got another year of this or something
No, no,
like
no,
that.
no,
I
no,
mean, yeah.
no. I don't think that at all. I think we still have a couple months though.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've seen people say that. I've seen people call March and stuff like that. And just because we're seeing this today, I mean, to me, this isn't. I don't know how much I would really take this as a confirmation that it's definitively over now. I mean, it's certainly good. I don't see any way that you could argue much other than that. But yeah, I feel like the lows are in. I do also think that we, could lose some of this price action, certainly, which isn't saying a lot because we pumped so hard today. So, um, but I do know where you're coming from, Ewok, and I agree with what you're saying. Is that people? I guess like what I'm saying is like you just mentioned with the previous like a bull market. I'm thinking right now with a bear that people kind of have that bias and they're just forgetting what it's like when things go the other way. And when I'm hearing things right now, notice how you've heard this stuff kind of gone out the window. I'm not even hearing about like grayscale anymore. I'm not even really hearing about I mean, Mount Gox isn't close anyway, really. But
Not
you know,
yet.
I'm not
No.
I'm not really hearing like some of these narratives that people were like, oh yeah, the Barry's, what's his name? Silbert.
Silbert.
Yeah, like I'm not even hearing that stuff now. I'm not even hearing the Genesis stuff now, or like, oh, wait till this happens and everything. It's like it's just gone out the window because it's like, well, people decided they want to start buying again, and we don't care about this stuff. Like it
Yeah, and
seems like that's what happened.
it's unfortunate because I think it still could play out with some other things. People need to not forget about it, and the second you forget about it, it kind of creeps back in, and it will tap you on the back and say, "Hey, I'm still here."
The Grim Reaper.
There's still SBF stuff happening. There's occasionally I see some shady stuff happening in the background where this kid still has access to all these. I don't understand how he's got access to all these wallets. He should have had his internet and computers and everything taken away from him, but unfortunately that's not the case. So there's still a lot of things happening behind the scenes that we aren't privy to, probably, that could still play out as well, and hopefully shake things out just a lot quicker. I want to get it done with. I agree with you. I've had enough, but
Right.
the sooner the better, and hopefully some of these things can play out and we can move on.
Well, my question is like, I feel like it's a chicken and egg thing because, like, you're saying, hey, don't forget these other things are out here and they could come up and tap you on the shoulder eventually. But what if the market's like, I don't care about that stuff anymore, and everybody is just buying, like
Well,
prior to that happening? It's just, I feel like there's reason to believe that too.
it could be. We could, and if there's enough economic energy going into the market, it could supersede that. We don't know what the timing will be, and how it will all play out. I wish we
Yeah.
had a crystal ball to be able to say, just wait till March 15th or something like that. But
Right.
but we don't, unfortunately.
Well, disagreements like this though are is what makes markets. That's what makes
Yeah,
markets interesting, and people being on opposite sides is what make prices go up and prices go down. So it's kind of part of the beautiful thing we have here, and we'll just have to see. We both are, regardless, I know, welcoming positive price action, positive narratives. Good things
yep.
happening in crypto. I was just telling you, I've been fortunate enough to get some profits out of some nice phantom buys here recently at the bottom. So, this is not saying that Ewok is wrong about the bottom or anything like that, but should he be, and we aren't going back down to those levels again, and you're upset that you didn't buy more, let that be a lesson to you too. That doesn't mean, I'm not telling anybody they should have found out how to totally time the bottom or anything, but if you haven't been DCAing for the better part of the last, at the very least, 2 months. I mean, if you haven't been since November, ideally even before that, probably since like summerish, what are you doing? I mean,
Right.
it's not going to last forever anyway, but it is what it is. So you only learn from experience. So,
Absolutely.
um, yeah. So that pretty much covers it. So we will see. Again, the Fed meets again in March. I believe it's March the 15th, and we'll see what they do at that point. We've got a lot of time between now and then, although February is the shortest month of the year. So we'll kind of see how things do pan out. But we do have other things, of course, happening in crypto. We have things happening in DeFi as well that we want to get into a lot of. And since we are going to turn our attention here in a moment to some of those DeFi things, let's go ahead and take the question from Charles in chat here. I wanted to get to this, and we are, of course, going to tackle Richard Hart, Hex, and PulseChain stuff here in a moment because there's been some interesting developments that I think we're going to talk about a lot over the next couple of days. So hi from Japan, from Charles. So if you had, not financial advice, of course, this is just what we personally would do, and I think Ewok and I will probably disagree on this, but if you had 1 million hex, how much would you stake and how much would you keep liquid copies on PulseChain if you didn't sack? So yeah, as far as the last part, I'm not sure if this is what you mean, but yeah, you definitely would get copies of all of it, whether it's staked or liquid on PulseChain. So
Right.
whatever you do with it, it will appear as that exact status on PulseChain.
Yeah.
But I'll let you start, Ewok. Yeah, what do you think about that question as somebody
Well,
who has a lot of hex?
so it's a tough question because I don't know Charles's financial situation to begin with. And like you did say, and it's not mentioned, that you do get copies of your staked hex and your liquid hex. So it really would depend on, what's your plan. Do you want to acquire some? You say you didn't sacrifice. So I'm assuming that means you do want to get involved in some PulseChain. Um, man, without time frames, how long are you going to be in the market? Are you 70 years old and maybe don't feel that you have a 15-year time horizon? There's a lot of options, or a lot of things that could really play into this. But as a generalized situation, I would probably I would probably say, I don't know, 70% stake it into a ladder for whatever you feel your time horizon is. If it's 15, then divide that 70% by the 15 years. Do a yearly or bi-yearly staking ladder. You definitely want to be aware of that 4-year cycle, right? You want some of it to come out. If you can look at the tops of the markets in the last couple cycles, make some of those be due in the height of that 4-year cycle as well. And then the rest you keep liquid, and you can trade it once PulseChain is released, and you can catch it on Pulse X. You can trade your hex for Pulse or Pulse X. At that point, you can keep a little of that liquid as well. There's a lot of things you could do. And again, not knowing the entire situation. Well, so he says here, 50 years old, fully employed, which means you still have money coming in. You did sack for Pulse X. So, you may not want as much then if you want to. I still think Hex is our play. Hex is still the golden goose. PulseChain was created basically to solve the gas fees, right? A lot of people have speculated that the gas fees could end up being a full Ethereum to end a 15-year stake, which is kind of scary. Because what if it is at $10,000 at that point? In
15 years, 20. I mean,
it could
10,
be a lot higher.
We might be laughing at 10. Yeah,
right. I mean, we can't see the future, but it could be crazy high, crazy expensive, and I think a good thing to think about. Well, hell, at PulseChain could be by then even at the point where Ethereum is now, or past it. Depending on growth and scaling models and how things play out. But we could be on our second PulseChain. We could have to fork PulseChain to keep those gas fees down. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. But I hope that gave you a couple ideas at least on some different strategies.
Well, and who knows what the price of X1 chain will be too. The Jack Levin Zen chain, I mean, we never know what that's going to be. So fun to speculate about. But now, in terms of Charles' question, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of factors. That's what I do love about Hex and that smart contract is like, you just have to know it, like understand the smart contract, and then again, take your situation into account and decide how you want to play it. I personally, without even thinking about wanting to get involved in Pulse and stuff like that, I like to be 50-50 staked and liquid anytime. Like I just enjoy that because, while the returns obviously on Hex are phenomenal and you can't find them very, often in crypto, the price appreciation of crypto is also amazing. And I like to be able to take profits to then buy back lower and just continue to get more crypto and to get more Hex. So that's what I like to do. But I agree with you, Ewok. I mean, there's a reason people talk about the staking ladders. I think that's a great thing to do. And I've just kind of built mine out over time from, it was like one stake a year for 15 years. And then when I had more hex, I put another one each year, and then I put a third one each year. And basically I'm like one a quarter basically. But that whole thing you brought up about like taking the 4-year cycles into account is interesting. And I have incorporated it, and I've thought about it, and have some juicy ones that I set up for when I think we would be at the, fever pitch of a bull market. But we also don't know that. Like, we also don't know when will these extend a little bit. And when you're forecasting out to like 2036 and stuff, it's like, well, I mean, I think that'll be a bull market. But yeah, I'm with you. I mean, might as well try to do that. But I'm just a fan of like getting them in there every single year, since we don't necessarily know what's coming. But
right. And if you do it that way, you can always restake it. If things are low at that point, no one says you have to take profits at that point. You can restake the whole damn thing.
yeah.
You know, and if you do it either, like you said, you've built it up to where it's now almost quarterly. So you're going to catch something pretty close to a high, or, you're going to have a period of several months or several ones that do come out when times are good. So you will be able to peel some of that off and, take profit on the yield that you've made, and then keep setting them out. I mean, ideally that's the idea, right? Is to have a perpetual machine that just keeps producing yield for you trustlessly, month after month, or quarter after quarter, or however you want to do it. So,
yeah, I agree. And yeah, it's in terms of the pulse play. I mean, yeah, I'm with Ewok too. I mean, like, hex is the vehicle, like that is the main moneymaker and everything. But yeah, anytime you can get in on a fair launch, obviously the sacrifice was getting in on the fair launch to get free valueless tokens anyway. But in terms of if you haven't gotten any pulse yet, yeah, that's why you want to have that hex now, because you're going to get that P hex copy. And then if you want to trade out a certain part of that bag and convert it into pulse, you can do that too. And, Ewok, I don't want to go, we're going further on this than I discussion to have, is because, we're seeing a lot of things kind of launch here towards the end of this bear market in crypto. And I mentioned like Optimism earlier. There's like Aptos, like all these new things that people may have gotten airdropped and stuff. And you see how quickly these prices can run or plummet or whatever it may be. Talk about like that first day or first couple of days of pulse, what that could look like, because it may not be a good idea just to say like, okay, I got my P hex here now, my actual hex, and now I'm just going to convert it into pulse. And then, we may see this precipitous drop, in the pulse price for weeks after that. So talk about playing that to where, I mean, you're going to be early either way, but how to kind of optimize that for yourself without FOMOing too hard.
Well, first, Charles, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, pal.
Yeah, thanks for the feedback. Should be interesting for sure. So when Pulse launches, it's hard to say. Like, I know people have been waiting and waiting and waiting for this thing to happen, and there are people that probably over leverage themselves considerably, who I believe will probably sell right out of the gate as soon as we get a price feed. It could be 24, 48 hours until that whole bridge comes into effect, right? Because that's what it's going to take to get an actual dollar amount rather than just the ratios. So I think during that time, we're going to see a lot of crazy movements with ratios, and people are going to get probably burned on that. So I don't recommend that unless you really are good at math and know what you're doing. And then we're probably going to see a sell-off. I think there are people who are going to be taking profits or even maybe losses because, like I said, they probably overextended themselves on the sacrifice, thinking that this would happen a lot sooner. And you may see quite the pullback in price as well. So that's a good thing. Hex did the same thing. We had that massive pullback at the beginning. I believe it was a 70 or 80% drop from the original opening price, maybe a little bit more. And then it found a floor and it never went back. So, you know, always keep that in mind when you look at launches. Look at some of your other launches. Look when Ethereum launched and see what happened there. Look at Polygon when it launched, and
Mhm.
Binance Smart Chain. Do a little research and see what happened when those all. EOS was another one. So look and just, but I know I laugh too, but you
Yeah,
definitely want to look at a lot of them and factor all of that in, and take that into consideration too, as maybe the first 2-3 days isn't the time to buy.
yeah,
um, but a lot of, well, so this is another one too. You have a huge community now behind this, quite a bit of money behind it. We know there's going to be a lot of liquidity from the start. That's probably a lot of where the sacrifice money will go, is into liquidity pools to help stabilize things once they get to that point. So yeah, just keep that in mind. I think a couple days. I know Hex bottomed on day 33. Um, but take a look of some of your other ones. Find an average place of where it did find a floor, and use that as maybe one of your strategies. Like I said, I have no idea how it's going to play out, um, but I can see a major pullback. And
yeah.
Brizology is saying here he sees 100x at launch and then a big drop, then equalization. So I kind of see a big drop first, and then 100x from there. So,
Yeah.
it could play out in any of those ways. We just have to wait and see.
And that, that's also why you could kind of DCA your way there as well. I mean, if you just can't control that FOMO on day one, okay, if it's gonna help control you, and you have a little wee bit of a bag, get some. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
If it's gonna help you sleep better that night, I think it's worthwhile to do. But remember, we're all early, as much as it doesn't seem like that when that launches. Unlike Bitcoin, you will be early whenever you're buying Pulse right away. So,
Yep, for
um,
sure.
great discussion. So thanks for the question, Charles. Thanks for the super chat, man. We
Yeah,
appreciate you watching.
yeah.
So I want to ask you, Ewok. I saw a tweet about this last week, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. So we're finally seeing some Richard Hart resurfacing a little bit. He takes 5 days away from Twitter, and everybody wants to send out a missing persons report or something. But in terms of the Hex documentary, real quick. So the highest of stakes documentary, obviously, that has been in post production and pretty much, I believe, about ready to go. And the last report from Richard was basically they just were looking for somebody to write them a check to get it on
Yeah,
Netflix or Hulu. I don't know, whatever the hell. And that apparently hasn't been happening because it's not up there yet. So I wanted to ask you. I don't even remember who it was talking about it on Twitter like a week ago, but I saw somebody propose like if they just can't find somebody to take it, which would kind of surprise me. I mean, there's some pretty nichey documentaries on Netflix, which is a
yeah,
huge platform that you wouldn't think would even garner that much interest. And I think something like this would certainly fit
sure.
in with things that they do. But for some reason, should that not happen, how much of a disappointment would it even be a disappointment to Richard? What do you think? And what do you think of the idea of like, what if they just said, this thing's good. We know it's good. Hell, let's just put it on YouTube where the community and people actually are. And like so many like stand-up comedians we're seeing do this now and getting way more eyes on stuff than they probably ever would have on these other kind of legacy platforms. What do you think? I just want to get your opinion on all angles of this thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good play. Worst case scenario, right? You see a lot of these crazy videos that have millions of views, and they're making a nice chunk of money on it. So yeah, as a last ditch effort, I think that's not a bad play. There are platforms out there where you could create a private kind of sell it for $10 or something like that to an audience first,
Mm,
and then release it to YouTube and make out that way. I think somebody bigger will pick it up. You'll see it on a Netflix or a Hulu or even an Amazon Prime or something along those lines. They'll kind of work their way down. I'm sure they have choices, and these guys that made it, they have connections as well. They've either won or at least been nominated for Emmys. So they are with the in crowd, somebody will pick it up. I really think. I don't know if they're holding back, and kind of want a at least testnet version. I don't think that's the case. I don't know though. I don't know if there's more going on than what we really know. Are they really just waiting for a check, or are we holding, so that when people see this, they actually have a product to go get in and feel like, all right, we're now in the bottom, or we're super early to this brand new thing that all these people are talking about, PulseChain, and here it is, brand new.
Hmm.
That could be a play too. Who knows? I don't get the inside information with any of those guys. I did, donate some money to the production of it, as well as a lot of other things like the race car and all that good stuff. So,
Right.
but yeah, I don't get the inside track. So who knows? It's a good question. I think it would be a good last ditch effort, though.
You think they just, if they can't find anybody, they just put it on like Tubi TV or Freevee or one of these like cheap free movie platforms or something like that?
I don't think they would go that route.
That'd be
I
pretty funny.
highly
I'm just
doubt it.
kidding.
They were obviously saying they, wanted to get it to the highest bidder. So who
Yeah.
knows who that will be?
I doubt it would be any of those people, but yeah, I mean, yeah, Netflix
Yeah.
makes sense to me. I mean, there's weird stuff. I mean, not say, I mean, to the normie out there, they'll certainly think this is weird and not
Yeah.
understand it, and it'll be new to them. But I mean, there's a lot of weird niche stuff on Netflix. What was that? Kind of took everything. Well, obviously Tiger King during
Yeah. During
the
COVID.
pandemic.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what was the other something about? Oh man, that really weird one about like, oh, don't F with cats or whatever. I don't know if you ever saw that one. Very odd.
No.
Yeah, very weird,
There's
sleuthy internet
been
thing.
Yeah, there's been a lot of interesting, even like, uh, more mini series, multiples. They have these seasons of things, um, which seem to kind of do well and draw people in. I don't know if
Mhm.
Netflix has kind of moved in that direction where you have to have more than just one. One isn't gonna. How many times are people going to watch it? I guess they don't know the hexagons very well, but I mean,
Right.
I think they would watch it a couple times probably, and but it's not like season one, season two, season three, and then there's 10 episodes in each season. And
Right. Right.
I think Netflix has kind of moved in that direction. I feel like anyway.
Well, hey, Dahmer was successful. That was a little mini series. So,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe just gotta, I don't know, mix in some kind of serial killer type narrative or something in
Sure.
there. I'm not sure, but yeah. Anyway, it's going to be interesting. Yeah, we'll see where it goes. But I think there's credence to what you said too, Ewok. I think that it would be nice to have a product like PulseChain out there when this is coming out too. Another thing, because I'm sure that's referenced and talked about. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So continuing on the RH thing. So I originally had on these notes the other day. He's been super silent lately, not been on Twitter, people freaking out, all that stuff, not really anything new. And then out of the blue, I actually texted you yesterday morning this 3 hour stream, 3.5 hour stream that if you're into Hex, you've probably seen parts of now, with a guy named Greg,
Guy named Greg.
that has a token that I forget what it's called, but Intercoin, I think, and it's
Mm.
on his channel. Yeah, and it was just a kind of a very bland thumbnail. I almost didn't even think it was real. I just saw this like, it was just like a red thumbnail and said like Richard Hart talks about what's to come or something. And I'm
Yeah.
like, is this real? Is this recent? I don't know this person. I start watching it and I check it out, and it's normal Richard Hart shtick, and these two guys are arguing about stuff, and then there's some cool nuggets here and there, and yeah, I don't know when this was recorded, so I don't know if you can shine light on this. There's some other angles I want to talk about with this too, but when do you think this was recorded? And he did, I don't care about timelines as much, and I'm sure other people are getting sick of it, but
Mm.
Richard, when pressed, was like, well, I would think weeks until the test net's public, maybe 3 weeks, maybe a week, maybe a couple of weeks, whatever. But again, we don't know when this was recorded. Um,
Yes, we do.
Oh, we do? Okay. Yeah, that's what I was going to defer to you. So, yeah, when is this from? When did this happen?
So it was if you caught it during the live stream, he had
Mm.
mentioned that it was the day that that weird Russian exchange got hacked, or got taken down or
Mm.
whatever it was.
Yeah.
Because they did
Bitslotto
mention it, Bitslotto, yes. Couldn't even remember the name. That's how unimportant it was. But
yeah.
that was 10 days ago. So the stream was from about 10 days ago, 9 or 10, depending on, um, I'm pretty sure it was 10. So if that's the case, and he said 3 weeks, then, we're still about a week and a half out from what he was thinking. And that kind of lines up to some of his tweets that were going out today, about the progress of the chain sinking and all of that good stuff. So
Right.
I go ahead.
Let me ask you this. Okay. So, our friend Trevon, has been, I'm not going to get too far into it, but like kind of just calling out why Richard was on with this guy on this channel who seemingly, I don't know if you want to say that he's shilling what his token is. I don't know anything about it really. It is curious to me though, without getting into that, because I don't really care about it as much. But it is curious to me, and I like hearing the updates from Richard and everything, and his thoughts on crypto and stuff. But where w- some of the times that he gets hooked up with an interview, like why was he on this channel? It just seems weird to me. Like, why not like some other publication or something like that? I had, again, neither of us knew of this guy.
Never heard of him.
I don't know anything about the token or anything. I'm not that interested. Obviously, he had, and I'm not. I mean, I have 1,000 subscribers, but he had like 700 or 800 subscribers, and it's like, what is this? I don't know. That's why I was confused. I thought maybe it was like old. I didn't know when this thing was from. So,
Right.
what do you think about like the venue here? Like, what?
It was
Why
weird.
this?
It
Yeah.
was weird. There was so much gaslighting going on by that guy as well. I felt, he's one of those. Well, I don't even care. We don't need to talk about myself. But here's my coin. And I don't
Yeah.
care
Right.
about I don't care about being popular. But here's me with all these people. Um, it was just,
Yeah.
man, it was strange, and I don't know. Like it was just weird seeing him interview Richard, and he would bring up these points and these old fan fiction, just garbage stuff that Richard had to keep defending. And I hate it when people try to do that. They throw stuff in there. Um, who knows what the premise was when they first talked about it?
Right.
Because he did open up with, I'm a big fan of yours, Richard, and I like what you're doing, and I like Hex, and then he goes on to say, well, here, what about this spam stuff? Um, and then he goes to show his businesses from Florida, and it was just strange, man.
Yeah.
It kind of just threw me off. Like I said, there was so much gaslighting done by him, so I'm not really sure what his. Um, I almost felt like he was trying to have an aha moment to catch him in something, to say, well, this is why I think my coin's better. And maybe he didn't, Richard maybe didn't even know the guy had a coin. I don't know.
Hmm.
But yeah, Richard's not one to be on somebody's stream if they're going to shill their product. Um, it-
Right.
the thing is, though, it's not in any kind of competition to Hex, or PulseChain, or any of that. Um, and he brought up a lot of good points that, the stuff that you're doing isn't really that profitable anyway. So I'm not sure where you're going with it. So I
Yeah.
don't know. That was my take. It was just really strange. But as always, we did get some nice little nuggets out of it if you paid attention and watched it the whole way through.
Yeah, there was that. The last thing I'll say about that guy, there was that funny moment where like he was trying to demonstrate something about like ETH fees or something, and went to Uniswap, and he was like, "Well, okay, I'll plug ETH in here, and I'm going to swap it out. Oh hell, we'll just save for Intercoin, for example." Like as if there was an accident that he used his own token
Right.
on the stream. Just kind of weird, but yeah. I mean, net positive. I mean, I was happy to see something from Richard, and they did kind of calm down, and there wasn't as much debating combative stuff later on. And like, to Richard's credit, like, even though he was pissed at some of the things that the guy was saying and was accusatory and acting as if there was credence to some of what the SEC was asking about, and people getting letters and stuff, acting as if they've been paid and everything. Richard, understandably, getting angry when this guy's going into that, because it's like, why is it so hard to believe that these people, Hex is a product that's enriched the lives of a lot of these people, and they talk about it, because of that.
Oh, and that was a whole new fan fiction there. That whole, I know why you created the daughter addresses. I know you did it to pay that was like, whoa, that came out of nowhere. And you can see on chain that none of them have ever moved. Right. So, if you're going to pay somebody to promote something, a lot of times those people will spend that money. Whether you have I don't know, he said something, well, you made an agreement with them to stake it forever or something along those lines. That was just a really, really weird comment that I was like, man, he's no foundation whatsoever. Now he's just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks.
It felt like Richard owed the guy something, and that's why, it just was odd that I so much would prefer, and maybe you have more insight into why he isn't doing this as much now, Ewok. I'm not as involved as you are, but like, man, when he would just do his solo streams every now and then.
He's not home. He's not home.
Oh,
he's
okay.
traveling.
Right.
So he's not near his studio. He's not where the camera quality's good. The sound's good. He doesn't have all that setup. So that's why he hasn't been doing those type of streams. He's been traveling a lot, whether he's working on the museum or whether, I don't know. That's why he's not doing that.
I do definitely prefer those, but I mean, like, one thing I'll say to his credit, I mean, and he was kind of ironically tweeting about this today, but he was retweeting some old tweets about like how tweeting is so pointless and to instead be working. And I think he was trying to just get the message across, like, here, hey, people, this is why I'm not on here all day, every day, because this is something you and I hypothesized about. It's like, hey, maybe the quiet is good. Like, it might mean that we are really close to something significant. And, it's interesting with him being a guy that has been hesitant to give out tons of details. And I do understand why. He's really bending that policy, and he is giving out details and sending screenshots like he did again today. And even if people don't totally understand it, it's like, hey, cool. A blockchain I care about is having updates, so I'm a fan of us at least hearing something. So
I like to hear things every once in a while too. It just lets us know he's out there and he's working. Yeah.
Hey, Corey, appreciate the comment. Hit the like, guys, if you are here. We very much appreciate it. We're going to get into one more thing, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this. So Alex McWhirter, creator of Hedron, obviously was tweeting about something that you brought up earlier, Ewok, and that is, what the gas fees on Ethereum could be like way down the road. And this doesn't just affect Hex stakes. I mean, obviously people that are into Hex are going to care about that. But I mean, if Ethereum gets to a level of network capacity and price one day that is just untenable, and you are somebody who is invested in Hex and has Hex stakes on Ethereum coming out, it is going to heavily affect you to the point that we don't even know, ideally the price of Hex, continues to go up in the fashion that it has against Ethereum, which is very, very positive, and it won't matter as much what the ETH fees are.
Right.
But, that said, I mean, who knows? Maybe you could be in a bear market, and there's some instances where, as much as this would suck, like ending the Hex stake would not be beneficial to you or something, like claiming the coins after that. So, what do you think about that idea? Some of like the flash loans ideas that Alex had and the things that he was talking about. I mean, what do you think that could look like in the future? And I know the building of PulseChain is all to combat this, obviously, but people obviously are still going to want those ETH Hex stakes as well. They're not doing these stakes now for no reason. So what do you think about that? And what do you think about the possible solutions to those problems?
Well, I'm not a coder, so I don't know what he was referring to. He mentioned CowSwap.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it was a flash loan type deal. Didn't really look into it that much, but I do know it was one of the things that I thought about whenever getting into the Maximus and the Decimus and the Lucky and um, those perpetuals. I think they're going to be good to kind of have those and probably rely on some sort of pooled ETH that will help end those stakes. And I'm hoping that they will help cover the Ethereum fees um, for when my own stakes end. That's kind of my own solution, and that was why I planned those out as well. Um,
Mm.
yeah, I think there's going to be some creative people though that come up with some really good ideas. I like the flash loan type thing where you could take a loan out, pay somebody a fee for borrowing the ETH, and then pay it back instantly. Now, the one thing that has been speculated is because the S load is so intensive with all the calculations that it would take to figure out the yield for a 15-year stake, that it could possibly fill up a block and then some on its own.
Hmm.
So hopefully there's some sort of scaling by then, maybe a way to even do it in a ZK roll-up type deal, where it does it off-chain, does the calculation off-change or off-chain, and then throws it into the block to allow you to finish it. I think that would be amazing if somebody could kind of come up with something like that, to where, like I said, the calculation being done off chain could then be verified that it was done correctly, and then the end stake feature where you do mint your new coins is the part that's done on chain.
Hmm.
There are so many brainiacs out there that understand code and um, that could probably figure out something that I'm kind of relying on them, to come through for us and save the day. But yeah, it is concerning, man. It's very concerning that if things are ending in that period of time when there is a bear market and the price of it is down and it really just doesn't pay you to end it. That's a long time to wait to have something sit there and bleed out until it's profitable again, or even just to break even. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And I definitely agree with what you said. I mean, like some awesome brains out there creating stuff to make, speaking of Alex himself, I mean, like
yeah,
creating Hedron to help with, kind of stake liquidity and like the
yeah.
ability to move stakes around. I mean, I think it was a genius idea, something that would like that's an example of something that's been built on top of Hex that I think is phenomenal, and
Did
to date, one of the best. Go ahead.
speaking of Alex, did you happen to see the massive 15-year stake that sold the other day on the Hedron auction
I
side?
was hearing about it, but I didn't see how it ended up. No, what happened?
So I forget if it was, I think it was worth 1,200 T shares. Um, and the auction, the last I saw, it was before I had gone to bed. I think it still had a couple hours on it. And I'm not sure what it finally sold for, uh, but it was maybe 20 billion or 200 billion. Brizology or somebody, do you guys remember what it sold for? I just thought it was amazing that it was the equivalent of a dolphin, basically,
Yeah, that's
in
insane.
one stake. I think it was 20 million hex that had gone up for auction. So it was pretty cool to see that and somebody take ownership of that. It was pretty cool, and that's a lot of hedron that got burned. That's the,
Yeah,
the the bonus side of things, which would also increase the ICOSA yield as well. So I
yeah.
just didn't know if you had seen it or what you thought about it.
I saw a tweet about it. I didn't see the whole thing, but yeah, I mean, it's just crazy numbers out there for sure. With some of those auctions, but yeah, it's going to be very 10 million. Okay,
10
nice.
million X.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting to see. Yeah, like this is what I do love about crypto in general, but especially right now. We are seeing tons of innovation. Yeah, lots of things are out there being built that are worthless pump and dumps. There's a lot of AI crap going on right now, for example.
Yeah.
That's probably going to bait some people in. You have layer ones out there being built that I think are just like Aptos, I think is kind of like a Solana 2.0 as far as just a lot of money being put into it. But you've also got great things out there being built as well, and a lot of great DeFi products and solutions for things. This is what we can't lose sight of. And I know there's been a lot of dissent in different DeFi communities, different crypto communities. People love to fight, especially whenever the markets are down. But I think like the main thing that we should take away is that there is innovation. Whoever you think is right or wrong, the fact that there are really smart people out here working really hard to try to beat each other is good for us.
Yep.
I think that that's definitely good. And, something we all, I think, believe in is like a capitalism, a free market, people creating good things, and whoever creates the best thing wins. Yeah, I mean that's how it works. So, yeah, and there's room for more than one, and that's why people invest in multiple things. But I love it. I think we're in an awesome space. It's nice to see some price action turn around here a little bit. Yeah, I know this doesn't mean up only for us or anything like that, but I personally do think the lows for the bear market are in. Ewok doesn't feel the same way, but either way, we are seeing signs of some positivity here anyway, in terms of what people think about it. I mean, if you want to pull that up, Ewok, you can.
I can pull the hex chart up. There isn't a whole lot of TA really for. I mean, let's take a look here. See if I can.
We're nearing 3.5 cents. We got hex sitting right at about 3.3 cents right now. So I mean, this is an interesting level because it had traded at that for. I still think the majority of this bear market, it was sitting between 3 and 3.5 cents. I mean, we were there for such a long time.
Can you see my screen?
No, not yet.
I forgot to add it back in.
There you
Sorry
go.
about that. There we
Got
go.
it.
So this level from 3 to 5 essentially is going to be super important, I think. If we can bust through this and stay above, now that we're out of this triangle, if we can stay in here and bounce around a little bit, it's going to be super bullish. And then if we can get up and over the 5 cent, I guess our next stop would be 4.7 ish, 4.7, 4.8. That's one of the levels that we tested, got rejected on, and then fell back down. So if we can at least get to that level, it'll be a higher low for us, and that is bullish, and then we get into the between 5 and 7 cent would be the next target range too. So those were both, like I said, they were both rejections when they tried to go up the last time. Hopefully we can turn that resistance into support, get across it, and then use that and bounce off of there. So that's about all the TA. That there, like I said, there isn't a whole lot, and I'm not a professional TA person, trader, or anything like that. But you can see where the levels are, and that's usually what I look at, is when you just get a choppiness around, that can really turn into, because you can see it bouncing here. And then when it tried to get up over it, that became resistance. So until you punch through it and then come back down and test it, if it falls through, then, it wasn't a good test, obviously. But if you can bounce off of that and turn it then into support instead of resistance, that's what you're really looking for. And when you look at these levels, when a lot of action happens, that's what you're pretty much looking for, is can it break through there and then turn the resistance into support. So hopefully,
we spent,
hopefully that was helpful.
I think so, because we spent so much time between that 3 and 3.5 cents that, I mean, if we could reclaim that, I mean, we're above 3 cents now. If Hex could reclaim that and turn the 3 into support, if not 3.5, I think that'd be a great sign. And it'd be nice to see it just hang out there. And remember too, I mean, like the TA with Hex is obviously valuable, but also This is a token that quite obviously fundamental stuff is really going to affect it. V3 public gets announced,
Yeah.
and we probably nearly do a 2x from here. I
Right.
think, just based
Well,
upon
yeah, like you said, there's a lot of things that are not on the chart. You can't do TA for the documentary. You can't do TA for uh you know V3. There's just a lot of things. It was kind of like when Big Payday happened. You can't do TA for stuff like that. And it does come up
right.
on the chart and really messes with things. You have to kind of know that they're there to understand why those things happen, because it wasn't really and that was pretty early. So the Big Payday was, I don't know if there was even enough technicals to figure out any kind of resistance or support or anything like that. At that point, it becomes more mental numbers. That one
Yeah.
cent level was just a huge mental number that once we broke through it, it was, hey, now we can go to 2, and holy shit, now we can go to 5, and it just kept going. So those become like mental hurdles that people, once you get through them, they just kind of roll right through and keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this week is definitely going to be interesting with prices of all of these assets.
Mhm.
I'm excited to see if we can kind of keep some of these levels. Bitcoin still, as we end the show here, still right at 24K. So we'll see how things go there. That 25.5 mark, we alluded to it earlier in the show, but for Bitcoin, 25.5K is going to be a huge number. If we could see it smash through there, I would be like 99.9% that the bear market's totally over at that point, frankly, if we got through there. But, we're not anywhere near there yet, and we definitely could get rejected. So that'll be an interesting number to see. Do you have the chart pulled back up?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, there
I
you go.
should share it now. But yeah,
Yeah,
this 25 in this area, because again, we go back to where the resistance was the last time. Um,
that was
and
like
it was
Matt or, oh
this
no.
was back in August
Yeah.
of 2022, when it tried to make a rally and kind of got stopped out right in this area, anywhere between 24,500 and 25,200 in that area. There's a lot of candles that kind of wicked up into there and just got rejected. So I think if it can get through that level and then go up, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it's
if
going to
there's
be the
enough
key.
bullish sentiment that keeps it going, and not a bunch of people that are looking to exit, that's kind of what we're looking for. So
Yeah. Well, definitely keep an eye on it. Today was a huge pump day, so not a DCA day necessarily. I want to wait and see what happens here, but yeah, we'll probably have a recovery back down and bounce around this week. We'll see how it goes, but going to be an interesting week of price action. So keep your eyes on it. Again, I personally have been diligent about anywhere where I bought, they're kind of at the bottom of the bear market so far, where I've had some profits I've been able to take. I've been doing it, so no financial advice, but don't forget to do that if you're up sometimes, especially in an environment like this. I think it's
yeah,
valuable to take some. But
sure.
Ewok, any parting words though for the viewers tonight?
No, that's a good point. The dollar cost averaging in is just as important to dollar cost average out as well. Yeah. You want to make it worthwhile. Want what you're doing to have some fruit of your labor, so to speak, and make some profits on it. And yeah, I'm happy to see the audience is growing, and at least hopefully we're providing some value to people. I think that's exciting. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that, and like and follow both of us if you can, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, if you're still here, smash a like. We very much appreciate you tuning in. You can follow both of us, Broke Boy Twitter, yeah, Broke Boy
Broke
Crypto
boy
is
Twitter.
me. Yeah, Broke Boy Twitter on YouTube and Twitter. And yeah, Crypto Ewok is at Crypto Ewok
Yeah,
5555 on YouTube. So
yeah,
yeah, we'll make it worth your while. We are here every single Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to talk all things crypto, DeFi, a lot of hex, obviously. So yeah, we will see you again next Wednesday night. Thanks, Briz. We appreciate you watching, man. Next Wednesday, February the 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern. So until then, for my co-host, Crypto Ewok, we will see you next week right here on the Creed of Crypto Podcast.